Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now.
Hey.
Hey.
How are y'all doing?
What's going on?
What's going on? Anyways, welcome back to our next episode of Loved by You podcast. I'm your host, CL Roberts. Or am I Carrie L? I guess I'm Carrie L. Okay. I'm your host, Carrie L. Y'all, he looked at me.
I looked at you crazy because you are crazy.
I'm not crazy.
Yes, you are.
I'm just a little touched. But I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm really not. Anyways.
And if you notice, I'm not sniffling now because I got rid of your cooties.
Nope, you still got them. You still got my cooties.
No, I do not.
You just don't have a cold anymore, but you still have my cooties.
Anyways. So episode 6.
Episode 6. And this is us against the world or you against me. Well, which one is it?
It's not a competition if you're going against me.
So. Wow. So that's how we're going to start this podcast. That's how we're going to start today.
I'm just saying.
Anyways. Well, obviously, because I'm the winner anyway.
Right. So anyways, the question for today is...
Wait. You didn't introduce yourself.
Oh, everybody knows
I'm
me.
Carrie L and you are?
Everybody knows me. Not me. Anyways, R.A. Roberts.
Oh my gosh.
AKA me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Can we continue?
I don't know. You tell me. You stop me.
Yeah, I did because you didn't introduce yourself. But
anyway, so the question for today is competition in a marriage okay?
Is it okay? I would say it depends.
Okay.
On what type of competition it is.
Okay. So I guess the next question to that is, what causes competition within a marriage?
Okay. And that kind of goes with, I guess that would be more so depending on what type of competition it is within the marriage will depend on the reasoning behind it. Like, for instance, if we're like doing a basketball game or chess and I'm clearly the winner.
Flipping the board over because you're losing does not make you the winner.
I'm clearly the winner.
Continue.
Okay, clearly the winner. But anyways, I think that type of competition, when it's friendly competition, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's just like in friendships or whatever. I think a little competitiveness is not bad when it's in that sense, when it's friendly, when it is something that is like, I'm trying to sharpen you to make you better, or, vice versa. So I think when it comes to that kind of thing, like games and, stuff like that, I don't think competition is bad. I also think it can be a little bit of flirtation that's involved with the competition when it comes to that. So I think that's fun within a marriage.
Okay.
Now, when we're talking about what causes competition within a marriage, I think that it really is depending on if it is something where there's jealousy or there's an insecurity involved, it can be very negative. A lot of times competition is in, how much money you make or, what kind of job you got or, just I think the societal hindrances that can come on a marriage when competition is involved.
Well,
I think that's negative competition.
I think it's interesting that you started with finances or how much money you make because they do say that finances and financial problems is always a major cause of competition and a major cause of divorce in marriage is finance and money.
Right.
So,
well, I always say, like, in anything, like, follow the money. Like, where there is many times where greed is involved, where there is people that are power stricken and they are, wanting more, uh, money is involved. And a lot of times, if you want change, they say that shake their pockets, you mess with their pockets, you mess with their money. And then people really get to a point where they start to pay attention. And so I think, unfortunately, finances are a big thing when it comes to marriage. And I think it can make or break a marriage.
yeah, well, there was this article I came across by Stacey Francis, and the title of the article is Wives Who Make More Than Their Husbands Should Take Note.
Okay.
And the opening line of the article is when a wife makes more than her husband, marriage struggle. And then it goes on to say those marriages being 50% more likely to end in divorce, according to a University of Chicago study. That's what the research found in the article, but well, let's just talk about her opening line that when a wife makes more than her husband, marriages struggle. Do you agree with that?
I think personally, no.
Okay.
Just because, and okay, I think there's an outliner there, or is it outlier?
Outlier is the word you're looking for, but
Right.
continue.
Okay, thank you. I correct myself. Anyway, I would say that marriages struggle when the wife makes more than the husband and there's not communication. Um, because I think societal norms, or when we talk about gender roles and things like that, there are men who really have been conditioned to be the sole provider or the main provider.
It's funny you say condition, but keep going.
Yeah. And I think that because of that, there can be some tension if there hasn't been communication before. Like, if there hasn't been an understanding that, hey, I'm cool with you making more. I know that you've said before you are totally okay.
I'm ready for you to retire me whenever
Yes.
you want to. Just let me know.
Yes. So, like, that's the thing, though. We have talked about that and we have discussed that, so that I think even when I make more than you, it's not a big deal, because it's like it's for it's towards a common goal. Like,
Right.
we're both, like, when you're winning, I'm winning. When I'm winning, you're winning. And I think that is something that people forget, is that they're on the same team, and they're supposed to be moving towards a certain goal. And so when you're making more money, hey, that's more money for us. That's more money for the family, you know. But I think certain people, I think certain couples don't communicate that.
Well, and I think it's because society is changing. It's definitely it used to be, and I will definitely say not in all aspects of society. Um, it's very much was determined by a lot of factors. So it's not a one size fits all. But I will say that it used to be that the husband went to work, the wife stayed home, the kids went to school, and when dad came home and the husband came home, they had his slippers and the newspaper ready for him. But that's changed when now,
Yeah,
and I
that's
think,
more of a father knows best kind of mentality.
but
That's more of a 1950s, 1960s mentality.
but
Whereas if you look at culturally, that's not something that is always been.
well, right, and I
Um,
and I said it was not true for every aspect, every corner of society, but I think that that has become a traditional norm,
mhm.
and society now expects the man to go off and provide, you know, that the man brings home the bacon and the wife, you know, cooks it up. And no, that's not how it is for everyone. But I think that's still a traditional norm of society. It's a traditional norm that the man is the sole provider and the wife takes care of the home.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that we're starting to see more and more relationships, more and more marriages do not conform to that. But I think it becomes a problem when marriages, individual marriages, are not conforming to that. But the societal norm is still that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I think that's why in this, I think, there's plans of us kind of hitting on this topic some more. But I think when society is telling the men that you have to be the provider, you have to be the protector, you have to be the one that is making the most because it's your job to be the provider. When their wife is not doing that, I think it can cause a psychological problem
Mhm.
for the husband because, hey, society is telling me that I need to be the provider and the breadwinner, but now my wife is making more than me. So that's a problem. And I
Mhm.
think it's even to the point that society says, well, if you're not the breadwinner, if you're not the one bringing home the large portion, then you're not a man,
Right.
you know.
And I think that kind of goes with what we talked about, I think a few episodes ago, where we said, like, you need to formulate your own unique marriage.
Right.
Like, what is normal to you? What is uh, what's the traditional norm for your marriage? Because every marriage is different. And, yes, there's some commonality um, traits between different couples. However, you really have to think about, okay, what works for us. And
Hmm.
it's not because at the end of the day, it's you and your spouse, not you and society, not you and your family, not you and it is you and your spouse. And so that's one of the things too of like even in the title with it, what we talked about, like us against the world or us against each other, and it's like you have to decide what does that look like. Are you really going to be you and your spouse against the world, or are you really going to be against each other? Because if you're against each other, then you're never going to win.
Right. And I think, and that one is definitely one of the reasons why I feel we do the podcast is because that's a sign, that's a symptom of a healthy marriage, or an aspect of a healthy marriage. And everybody's not there, but I think yes, it's definitely that time of talking about it. Because the Pew Research that says that back in 1960, 3.8% of wives earned more than their husbands, but uh, 2020 Ameritrade survey found that the number of female breadwinners had jumped to 21%.
Wow.
And of that, more than a quarter of wives report that they make as much as their husbands.
Right.
So 25% are making more, and then, 21% are making more, and 25% are making more than.
Mm-hmm. As much as.
As much as. Right. As much as.
Their husbands.
And I think that even in recently coming out of the pandemic, I think that can be a good thing, because, listen, a lot of people were struggling
right
during the pandemic. Some people may have made some money, but for the majority of America, majority of the world, people were struggling. So even if one person had income coming in,
that was good.
That was a good thing. It didn't matter who it was. Hey, somebody was making money. So I think it's a good thing, because even then cost was going up. Even now, the price of eggs. We just passed Valentine's Day, and people were talking about, we're not going to give roses, but we're going to give eggs for Valentine's Day.
But I think even when we talk about like money and, understanding that your income is our income and my income is our income, it's one of those things that I think everybody doesn't have that mentality. And I think that's where the competition comes in of, let me make more than you. Or, even women feel, I think a lot of women feel that they haven't had the opportunity for so long to make the money. And so when they get that opportunity, they're like, I want to be that high corporate person. I want to be that breadwinner. I want to be the one that's making the money, because for a long time, women have been conditioned to go along with the traditional norm of only being in the home, only being the one that takes care of the children, only being the one that does the cooking and cleaning. And it's one of those things that I think once women got the opportunity to really be out there and contribute financially to their family, but also contribute financially to or contribute to their workforce, or even to let their husbands know they're a partner in that sphere. I think that they really wanted to do that, but I think where we fall short, or where marriages fall short in that, is that they don't have that communication, and they don't have that understanding of, your money is our money and my money is our money, so
Yeah. Another aspect, well, to kind of back up some, just how you're saying contributing to society as a whole. What was it? And I should know this being a history buff, but what was it? World War II.
Yeah.
That women really entered the workforce. One, because the majority of able-bodied working men were off in the war.
Yeah.
But that's when a lot of women entered the workforce and took factory jobs. And it wasn't necessarily because, oh, hey, they needed to make money for the household, because, the husband was getting a check and everything from the military, but because society we needed them to work.
Right. Right.
You know.
Exactly. And it changed. It kind of undermined that whole traditional norm that women were only capable of being in the house. That they were actually able to do the mechanical work, to do the machinery, build the machines, and the high tech stuff that originally they really only had the mentality that women could only cook and clean.
Hmm.
you know. So
Well, and so another part of this, you said the competition. You said um, jealousy. I will also say, do you think that there's a power struggle in that? And yes, it's a loaded question, but um,
it's always a loaded question with you. Uh, um, do I think that it's a power struggle is the reason why you have competition?
yes.
I think so. I think that sometimes there is that wanting, to kind of have the upper hand, so to speak. Um, some people feel that if I'm making more, then I have more say and in the decision making of our household. That I also can have the upper hand on my spouse as well. And I think too sometimes it's um, one of those like, and I heard this like a while ago. It's been some years that I've heard this before, but where women was like, well, men do it all the time, so and they don't get reprimanded or looked at, you know, funny or anything like that. But so why can't I do it? And I think too that's another like negative attitude or negative approach to take in your marriage of, well, you know, husbands have always like when they make more money, they come and they try to make all the decisions and everything else. So I'm going to make more money so that I can make all the decisions and have the upper hand. Men have been doing it all this time, and now I get the opportunity. I'm going to do it too.
Well, I'm all about not having the double standard,
Right.
but I think yeah that's a negative conclusion to come to.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to end up hurting you, hurting your spouse, hurting your marriage more than it benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I said it was a loaded question is because the study also showed that when a wife out earns her husband, he is more likely to cheat. In fact, about 15% of the men in a study by the American Sociological Review who were 100% financially dependent on their wives had affairs. And they said that that's 3 times higher than high earning wives who had the lowest cheating rates of any population. But also, the report said that about 9% of women in the study had affairs, but among wives who earned a higher paycheck, only 5% cheated. So when the wife out earns the husband, he's
More
more
likely
likely
to
to
cheat.
cheat. There's 15% of the men in that study cheated. But for wives who earned more than their husbands, there was only a 5% of those wives cheated.
Hmm.
And so that's why I say I wonder if there's that competition aspect. And I think going back to that whole idea of, well, you're not a man if you don't make more than your wife. So I think it may be there may be some of the okay, well, at least I can still show that I'm in control or I'm a one up her or
or something like that.
Yeah.
And I also think too that this whole 15% of men that were 100% financially dependent on their wives, cheated. I think it also might be something to be looked at where they needed someone to be dependent on them for something and make them feel like they were giving something that was of value.
Now you're getting ahead of yourself. That episode isn't coming yet. Episode isn't coming. But yeah, I do feel that there is that men, whether people agree with it or not, that the majority of men, there's always outliers. It's not a one size fit all, but the over majority of men do want someone to feel like they need them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also wonder is in that aspect, is it also, are those wives and flaunting isn't the right word that I'm looking for, but are they always pushing the fact that they make more than their husbands in their face? I mean, because we definitely come from a Christian background that feels that, well, I'll say in our marriage, we feel that, that the family follows the husband as the husband follows God.
Right.
And so is that true when the wife makes more and so is the wife? Are there conversations of, well, it's my money, so I don't think we're going to do that, so we're not going to do that?
Right. And I think, too, that kind of takes me back to what I said before of the attitude that, or the approach that is made towards your income, your finances. Is it a matter of you, like, I guess, what is the reason behind you making more money? Like, what's the attitude behind that? Like, is it just, you know what? Hey, I just made more money and, but I contribute and he contributes and, it's like, or she contributes and he contributes. It's basically, I think it's always going to go back to what is the heart behind it? Like, are you doing it to have more power or to have a one up on your spouse? Or are you doing it because this is what works for us?
Yeah.
Well,
and I would say, and again, it's that individual family thing because, like, in our marriage, yes, you make more an hour. You make more an hour than I do in your private practice, but I work more hours than you do. So overall I make more, but hourly, like if we work the same number of hours, you make more than me.
Right.
Now, also, if you work the same number of hours that I worked, I would be retired. But that's besides the point. So I'm just saying.
Well, that's also because you work like a machine. You don't. There's no sleep for you.
Well,
so hey. For me, I'm sleeping.
Yes.
So.
Yes. But I think so. I think going back to our first question, our second question, is competition a good thing in the marriage? It depends.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would say that the competition can be more hurtful than helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That your spouse is supposed to be your helper. The two of you work together to accomplish each other's goals.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, hey, if I'm trying to pay my car off, hey, if you are getting extra income, then that extra income goes to the car, paying off the car. It's not, well, this is well, no, I worked extra, so I get to spend it all. Like, no, because in the long run, being debt free benefits the family. It benefits both of you. But also, I think, you can compete more than just in your income. You can compete in careers. You can even compete in parenting. Which, when you think about it, is funny, but like, yes, if one one parent is looked as being the fun parent and the kids always want to gravitate towards that parent, then, I'm gonna go do fun stuff with them too, you know.
Yeah. And I will say also that goes into being sensitive to your spouse and understanding your spouse's um, needs, even your spouse's insecurities. Because I think, and not saying that you need to coddle your spouse or, make them feel over the top.
Right.
But I think being in tune with your spouse and knowing that, hey, you know, if you know that they didn't have the greatest relationship with their parents and they're trying their best to have an amazing relationship with their children, with you guys as children, then kind of understand that. Don't go and try to, like, I guess, flaunt it in their face that I'm the fun parent, I'm the good parent, I'm, whatever. Like, actually try to collaborate with your partner and be on the same team to kind of,
yeah, remember that you're a one unit, that
yes,
you're one flesh, and you're working together.
because I think sometimes that in that instance that can be also if you're the considered the fun parent and the one that your kids always want to gravitate to, you know, understand that can be a little hurtful to your spouse. And sometimes, though, I think that, and people will be like, "Oh, well, I don't care. Like, of course I'm the fun parent, because I'm the best parent, kind of thing."
Yeah, and I think the way to combat that is, yeah, like you said, is talk about it. Talk about the competition, work it out together, find ways to locate the source of the competition and then work to correct it.
Right.
So yeah, if one parent is the fun parent, okay, then, maybe, hey, plan some fun activities for the not so fun parent to take them out for. I think we definitely do that. Not necessarily that, because I think we do fun things with the kids in our own way.
Yeah.
But it's like, play to your strengths. Like, we always say that, I'm the one that, I'm not going to necessarily be the fun one, that you're the fun one, but I'm the one that makes sure we have the money to go and do the fun stuff.
Right.
So, play to your strengths.
Right.
Talk with your spouse. Acknowledge the fact, be man enough, be woman enough to know that, hey, acknowledge that we're different, but talk about it and work about it. So, because at the end of the day, the goal is to be successful as a unit, as a couple, as a family,
Right.
Right. And if you always see your spouse as a competition, then are you truly loving that person as Christ loves the church?
Yeah,
so
I would say probably not.
probably not.
Yeah.
So,
but anyways, I thought this was a good conversation to have about competition. And I truly believe that through these talks and communication, we can hopefully, help you to realize that, what? we're on the same team. And if there are fears and insecurities that you have, express that to your spouse. Remember, that is your partner for life. And, that's you. If you don't tell the person how to treat you, or what hurts and what feels not so good, or what feels good, then they won't know, you know.
Because as I always say, I'm not a mind reader.
Right. Exactly. And so I think that that's one of the things, is that's how you can be you and your spouse against the world, and not necessarily, I would say, we say that against the world, but I would say more so, um, working working together to be successful in the world, so instead of you against your spouse.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys, thank you for joining us on episode 6, competition. So, I still am the winner, though, always.
Sure. Or as I love to say, yes, dear.
Whatever.
Yes,
Anyways,
dear.
he says that when he wants me to be quiet. But anyways, all right. So we're gonna end this, and you guys have a wonderful night, honey. I am
Or day.
or day. Yeah, whenever you're listening to this. But I am so thankful to be loved by you.
And I'm thankful to be loved by you.
And we're so thankful to be loved by him. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Show me there's nothing fake to me now.